So today we're tackling the dreaded transit wet belt. Now,
That bumblebee's
this is my own personal van.
Look at the size of that.
Needs a belt. What do you say?
Bumblebee's
Hang on, sorry.
Look at it though.
Grown ass man, yeah, getting scared by a bumblebee.
Yeah, but they sting, don't they?
They don't. Bees are sound.
So you've never been stung by a bee?
No. You'll have been stung by a wasp, not by a bee.
It still can sting you though, can't it?
It can do, but...
Right, it's gone now. There you go.
Panic on him, man.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Does it swell up if I get stung? You know what I mean?
Right, so today we're going to be tackling the dreaded transit wet belt. Now this is my own personal van and it needs a wet belt.
So a lot of people go to garages and actually wonder what they spend all the money on and why it costs so much. So in today's video, you're sort of going to find out in depth of why it is so much, you know what I mean? Parts plus time and effort in doing it. And knowledge really, because if it goes wrong, you can mess it up like.
Yeah, that's a big risk, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you say, if you mess that up, the engine's knackered, so let's get to it anyway.
Yes.
Right, so the first thing we're going to do is open the bonnet, remove the headlight and take the air filter out. It'll give us a lot more room and we'll be able to see a bit better. Right, so the headlight's out and the air box is out. As you can see, there's a lot more access now. And this is the timing cover we're trying to get to strip off. The timing belt is behind here. Obviously we've got to remove the engine mount, all the auxiliary belt, anything in the way like this little water pump, this water pipe. But yeah, we'll get to stripping it. I'll give you an update in a minute.
A few moments later.
Right, so I've moved a few more things. A water pipe from there, there's a water pump here and a boost pipe. So now you can clearly see it. The next thing what we're going to do is jack it up, get all the auxiliary belt stuff off, the crank pulley, and then we're going to drop the engine mount. But we've got to lift it up to get under, and we've only got the little jack as the big one's knackered. But I've got this little thing. It turns out it's Bosch. You'd have never thought it. I thought it was absolutely useless, and I've had it for a while and never used it. And then when it comes to buying this van, the wheel bearing had collapsed, so I used it because I didn't have a jack at my house. Anyway, it turns out it was absolutely brilliant. I'm going to show you it now. So all you do, you got a little connector that connects it to a battery. You can put it to your car battery. Send it under where you want. There's the controls. You got up and down on here. So I pressed on up there. I can just leave it on up. It takes a while, so I'll get back to you in a minute. To be continued.
2,000 years later.
Look at that power! Look, off the floor already. I never thought a cheap jack like that would have done that. Anyway, there we go. It's off the floor. I'm going to put an axle stand under it now, so it's a bit safe. I can crack on.
So Andy didn't push go. He's took the wheel off and done a full explanation of what was going on. Taking the wheel off just to make it a bit more access for him to get inside where the crank is.
Sounds jack.
Yeah, it's dead good that jack, honestly. Takes a while.
Yeah.
But you haven't got to do anything.
There we go, it's on the axle stand now. Lovely jubbly. Right, so next I've removed the engine mount bolts and them there, so I can now lift this out, and I've supported the engine with the jack. So the van's on the axle stand, the jack is supporting the engine. I can lift this bit out now. And the next thing to do is get that cover off down there for the auxiliary belt. Then I can take the rest of this mount off and I'll be able to see the timing belt cover. Right, so we've got two belts, two auxiliary belts. This one comes off with a tensioner, which is easy enough with this one, but this is a stretch belt. So all I do to get these off, because I haven't got the specialist tool, is struggle with that. All you've got to do is put your screwdriver on a bit of an angle and cycle the crank round, and it should come off. There we go. And it's easy as that to get that one off. And the other one, you just get a spanner on here release the tension and pull the belt off. Always make a note of which way the belt goes as well, because sometimes they can be quite fiddly to get them back on. So the next thing that's coming off is the actual engine mount that's bolted to the engine, which is bolted on with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts. So I'll undo them, remove that, and that'll give us clear access to the timing cover. Right, so there it is, the mount off. And as you can see now, you can see the whole timing cover. Now while I was there, I did take off the auxiliary belt tensioner, which mounts there. It's just one Torx bolt. And I've undone the 3 bolts that hold the power steering pump to the engine block, as the pulley overhangs the cover. So you've just got to release that, let that drop down a bit. And now I can see all the bolts that run around the edge. All I've got to get off now is the crank pulley, which is down there. I think it's a 24mm socket. And then I can undo all these and start pulling the timing cover off. Now, most people when they do them just chuck a new cover on. Because this is my van and I'm tighter than cramp, I'm going to try and get it off in one piece. I've not ordered one. If it bends, I'm going to have to order one. So I'm going to try and get it off in one piece. And same with the sump, because you've got to take the sump off when the belt's all done. I'm going to try and get that off without bending it and then reseal them on. So I think in total I paid about 220 quid for the belts, the tensioners, the oil, the sealant. So that's the cheaper way of doing it. Obviously, if you go to a garage, they won't do that because it takes them too long. The labour outweighs the cost. So I think you can get a full kit with the timing cover, a new strainer, and a new sump for about 400 or 500 quid-ish. But yeah, I'm going to be tight and I'm going to try and save the cover. So the next thing I'm going to do right now is buzz that nut out there for the crank pulley, pull that off, and then start undoing all the bolts around the timing cover. Right, so I'm going to get the crank pulley off now. Hopefully this isn't too tight. Yeah, lovely. Sometimes they can be like a nightmare. They're that tight, but I dropped lucky there. Now, let's hope this comes off as well. Right, so I was having an absolute nightmare trying to get this pulley off. Just wasn't budging at all. So I've made basically a bit of a puller. Now, the crank pulley's got 2 thread, what are they called?
Threaded holes.
Threaded holes, yeah. Got 2 threaded holes into the crank pulley. And I've welded a nut on here so I can fasten it in, which will push on the original bolt. So hopefully this will come off now. I mean, I've got my fingers crossed, like. So we'll see. And you'll tell it's real because it's fucking stuck. You see if that's moving any?
Come on. Coming straight off.
There we go. So it's hitting that again.
About 10 mil. No.
Yeah. Jesus. Scared, like you say, to take that all the way out and it pushed on the end thread.
Yeah. Yeah, you've probably got 20 mil gap behind it now.
Oh, I can get my fingers behind it, it's just can't. Ah, there we go. Oh, the bolt's fucking still in.
Hammer off.
There we go. Right. Go for dinner now, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm starving.
So this next bit has no audio, but Andy's basically explaining that the next thing to do is take these bolts out and remove the timing cover.
Right, so I've got all the bolts out and I've carefully pried all the way around the edge now. Trying to keep this as straight as possible so I can reuse it. Something's still in the way, I think it's that pump. There you go. Now, reasonably straight.
Yeah, straight off that.
Yeah. Might just need a little persuade, and obviously I've got to clean all the stuff off it. But other than that, it's looking reusable. I'm going to chuck that over here for now. I'll show you the wet belt. Don't know why they ever come up with this idea.
No,
So it is.
belt, to be honest.
Or a chain, yeah. So there it is, there's the wet belt. The famous transit wet belt. So now I've just got to time it all up. and start removing the belt. Now this could take, I think it's up to 14 turns to get it bang on, because there's a couple of paint marks that match up down the bottom, and then them holes, I think I've got to, I think it's line up on the inside there somewhere. We'll find out in a minute. Just lower that engine a little bit. Let's clean them up, see where the bloody paint marks are. Right, I can see that one, I think. What are they like at the top?
Well, to be honest, I don't know where the holes are.
What are they like though? 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 12 o'clock, what?
12 o'clock a rock.
Yeah?
11.
Right, can't be right then. Right, so we're just going to release the tensioner now and pull the belt off. There's all the timing tools there, and we've got both cams locked up and the crank locked up.
Right, crank tool.
So it can't move itself out of timing now, so I'm just going to whip the belt off. Ooh. There she is.
Cracky.
Not really, I don't think. Oh, hang on. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Not
Not
terrible.
major though, is it?
Yeah.
It must have had one.
See all the bits in there though.
Yeah.
And that's the all them. Can't really see it, but that's what degrades your belt. All the carbon in the oil. So it's important to keep up with regular oil changes with these. Right, I'm just going to whip the tension off because you get a new one of them. And it's back on with the belt. Hang on. Clean it up first, eh?
Yeah.
So the bits aren't falling in the belt.
Yes.
Right, we'll do that. I'm not going to show you this because this is the boring bit, but literally just got to clean all this surface all the way around and on the timing cover. And then we'll put the new belt on.
Get all that sticky stuff off.
Right, so the next thing to do is get the engine all cleaned up of all the sealant, get the timing cover and the sump cleaned up. I've removed the strainer and that's also been cleaned, and then I can get on with putting the oil pump belt back on. I can put the timing tool back on, and then I can get on with putting the belt back on. So that's the oil pump belt all done, which was a bit of a bally, but not too bad. And the strainer is literally slides in here like that. Then a 8mm bolt, well 8mm head, just goes on the other side, around the back here, and that bit, oh, this bit just clips in here. I'm just going to tighten that up now with me ratchet. Right. So there's the strainer back on, belt's on. Just got to give this another little wipe down now. Let's had oil dripping on it. Once that's clean, the sump's already clean, I can put some Deco on it and get it sealed back up. Right, so the oil pump belt is fitted. I've cleaned and refitted the strainer and the sump's all back on now. So we're onto the belt. I'm gonna have to put the belt on, the new tensioner. It's all timed up so it can't move anyway. And then we can refit the timing cover. And here's the new kit. So you get the belt, tensioner and a new bolt. Now, I'm on my own today, so I might have to put the camera down sometimes because I can't film and do it at the same time. Right, so it goes that way up. Right, that's it. That's in the right position now. I just need to tighten that 13mm bolt in. So when I've got the belt on, I can pull that pin out and it'll all be timed up. Pull the other pins out and the timing tool. Then we'll cycle it round and make sure it's all fine. Then we'll put the timing cover back on and start building it all back up. Right, I have to put the torch on it to give you a bit of light. But there it is. There's the new belt on, and then I just need to pull this pin There we go. See it go tight then? Got to remove the timing pins now, spin it over by hand using the bolt and the crank pulley. And then if everything lines up, which it should, when I'm done, then I can start putting the timing belt cover back on. And hopefully, because I've pulled this off, it'll seal again. If it doesn't, I've got to do the job again. Now, I know I've got to seal up quite a bit. I'm going to take this out, reseal that, reseal all around here, and then obviously a good splurge all the way around. There we go, timing cover's all back on, as you can see, well sealed. Especially with it being reused, I put quite a bit on. Obviously making sure to seal behind that, because that's actually a coolant waterway that's blocked off for some reason. Crank pulley's back on, so now I'm just going to chuck the auxiliary belt tensioner back on, because that actually keeps the timing belt cover back while it's wet. It needs to be on so it'll set. Then I'm going to chuck the engine mount back on the engine, and then start just building it back up. To be honest, it's nearly there now. It's not a terrible job, this. The worst part about doing this for me has been filming it while I've been doing it, because I'm having to slow down and show you what's happening. So yeah, the hardest bit is filming it, and we've had a 2-post ramp, which we haven't got here. Been doing it off the floor. They've been a hell of a lot easier. Now I've done one, I know better ways of doing it. So when you first get it in, drain the oil straight away and the coolant, remove the sump, lift it up, and then support the engine. Whereas I left the sump on. So yeah, there's different ways that you can do it. But obviously, being the first time I've done one of these now on a Transit Custom, you know, you pick up ways that make it quicker. So yeah, I'll show you an update in a minute when all the engine mounts back on and all the belts back on. I've got to mount the power steering pump back on as well, because you've got to take that off to get the timing cover off. So I'll give you an update in a minute. Right, so there's the engine mount and all that back on. I've put the tensioner back on. I've mounted the power steering pump back on. Just starting to put the water pipes. Got an auxiliary water pump that goes here. And basically just building it back up. So I've got an airbox, a few pipes, a few guards, and obviously the 2 auxiliary belts there. That's all that's left to do. Obviously I'm going to change the oil filter and put fresh oil in, fresh coolant, and then we'll run it up later on when the sealant's gone off properly. So I'm going to leave that for as long as possible. But yeah, I'm just going to start building it all back up. It's literally the same as what same as what you did to take it apart. This bit's the straightforward bit. So just going to get it built up and get it done. Right, so it's all back together. Looking good. I'm hoping it's not going to leak. All I've got to do is change the oil filter. Got a nice new one there to go on. Fill it up with oil and fill the coolant up and bleed it through. And then it should be a Bobby Dazzler. And so the first thing we're going to do is get the new oil filter on. It's nice and easy to get to, this one as well. Got an old rag or something to put under here because it's going to drip. I just dropped it.
A big tank, that.
It's going thingy. Is that alright?
But everyone's like, shit, who's going to do the heads now?
What are we saying? Syrup? Honey? What did you say it was?
Honey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where'd your weekend go? Right, so the oil's all in now, the coolant's in. I'm going to give it its first crank over. Now, no matter how many you've done, I think this is always a bit daunting, but let's give it a crack. Hopefully it starts. Now I have turned this over by hand manually to make sure nothing's hitting, so should be all good. Sweet as that, lad. I'm going to leave that open for a little bit. Just going to leave it open for waters to circulate, you know what I mean? And then I'll put the cap on. Lift the door up. So there we go, I managed to do it by using the original timing cover and sump, and I managed to save myself a few quid. But if I was doing it for a paying customer, I'd definitely be charging the extra for the new sump and the new timing cover, and you'd ensure that it's sealed first go, and you'd probably save yourself money in the long run. So there it is, transit wet belt done. Took a little bit longer than I thought, because I've not done one in a few years now. But it is doable off the floor if you're handy with tools. So if you liked it, join us in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next one.